The banana zone is that period in crypto markets which you would call altcoin season. It's when everything just starts going vertical. Now, it always comes in the US election year because of this cycle, which is the Bitcoin halving cycle, which is this everything code cycle. And it tends to come around the summer or autumn of that year, and things start accelerating and get silly. And when prices start going bananas, and they look like the banana, it's been repeating every single time since crypto began. So this is the Bitcoin halving cycle. It's that chart. That chart is the chart. That's why it looks like a banana. It's just like, it just does this. And it's why we're all in crypto, to be honest.
The banana zone is a term coined by macroeconomic expert Raoul Pal, which describes a period of a crypto bull cycle in which prices start going vertical. In his latest interview, Raoul broke down why the banana zone occurs every US election year. He believes that we are now on the cusp of the 2024 banana zone, and if it plays out like previous cycles, it will really kick into gear between August, September, and November of this year. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Raoul breaks down the spot Ethereum ETF, why he thinks Ethereum is about to outperform Bitcoin, and finally his thoughts on Solana going into the end of the year. Also guys, if you want to stay most up to date on the crypto and Bitcoin world, make sure to subscribe to my daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. It gives the latest expert predictions, any breaking news, and top on-chain analysis all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description to join over 60,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now. But without further ado, let's jump into the highlights of Raoul's latest interview.
Abstract this all away. What are we doing here? We've been given the new layer to the internet, which is the internet of value, the layer of ownership, settlement, all of this stuff. Now, unlike the internet, we couldn't own that. We can own this. So the more it gets used, the more the number go up and the more we profit from it. So it's this huge egalitarian democratic way of distributing a huge amount of wealth to a huge number of people. To put it in perspective, this space is a $2.5 trillion space today. By the end of this cycle, it should be $10 to $15 trillion. By 2032, if you continue growing at these kind of rates, you get to $100 trillion. So there's $97.5 trillion of money on the table, which is why I keep telling people not to fuck this up, because the opportunity is so big. And that is just by owning the new internet, essentially. So that's what this is all about. So there is a banana zone, which is the periods of time where it goes bananas. Then we get the corrective periods, and then we repeat this cycle again. Now, will everything repeat perfectly? Will it be identical? No. You know, there's no guarantees come with this. But it's based on the liquidity cycle. It's based on the macro cycle. It's based on interest rates. It's based on a lot of things. Look, Coinbase has 108 million accounts, of which right now maybe 10, 12 million are active. As you start going to the banana zone, that starts going from 10 million to 20 million to 30 million. So suddenly it becomes a lot of voters. Add that to the political power of the firms that are involved in the ETFs. And it's now actually a funding issue for these people as well. Because if they say the wrong things, then the big financial sponsors for their super PACs start applying pressure. So I think it's much more of an issue than they first realized. And I think Liz Warren made a fatal mistake of saying we're building an anti-crypto army without realizing you're fighting a bunch of degenerate meme artists who are native to the internet, who are distributed everywhere. That's not an easy battle to take on. And I think they're starting to realize that this could be their own goal, because obviously RFK as well is running on a pro crypto format. So the Democrats, they either have to kind of fall in line, or they're going to try and say, we are the party that stands against this. But who does that play to? They're not going to get the swing voter by doing that. And I think this is typical of an election cycle, is suddenly it's going to become super important to these people, just because it's, you know, in an election which is very 50-50, anybody who can swing the vote matters. And so they will get out of their way to find those little pockets of voters. And this is a big pocket of voters. You know, I've been following the ETH Bitcoin chart, and I thought it was going to turn. I thought the ETF was coming. I didn't think it was going to come at that particular moment. But I even put out some sort of update on this. Just happened the weekend before this news came out. So why we're not getting much follow through right now is we're not getting much new inflow into the system. So people are switching a bit of their soul into the ETH and FOMOing into this trade. But really, the game starts when the ETF launches. Because most people are fully allocated. It's not like any of us are sitting with cash on the sidelines, right? So we're all fully allocated. So you have to switch from one to the other. I think people will switch, some of their Bitcoin for ETH to play this trade, but it's the institutional flows. I think the big game in town is going to be what is the narrative that BlackRock comes up with. This is the game. Okay. I think it's going to be tokenize the world. The other thing important to notice is that ETH is a third of the size. And then 20-something% of all ETH is staked. And then there is, if you generate a lot of on-chain activity, you'll end up starting to burn ETH again. So what you've got is actually very limited supply. And most ETH is just held and locked away, either staked or unstaked. So there's very little free float of ETH. So it depends what kind of price action we see. All BlackRock need to do is just add it as part of the portfolios. We've seen this before. So I don't know. Will we? Let's say the Grayscale loses 5 billion. Will we get 5 billion of inflows? Probably. Over what time period? 3 months. Over time, if they can bring more people into the space, well, outside of the ETF just gives them the cover to use ETH as their foundational layer for the stuff that they want to do. Because Goldman Sachs is not going to be using the ETH ETF. It wants to use ETH, as does JP Morgan's everybody else, to tokenize assets and do other stuff. What is super interesting to Wall Street is yield. Yield allows you to build products. You can do all sorts of things with yield. You can take the ETH yield and buy call options to give you upside or guaranteed products. You can create structured products. You can do lots of things. So I think that they've always been interested in ETH, and I've said this for a long time, is the ETH yield is the big game in town. Not because it's high yield, but you can do lots of financial engineering once you've got yield. They also all want to build on the technology, whether it's on a layer 2 or on ETH itself. But this is where they're going to start tokenizing a lot of assets. Nobody gets fired for using Ethereum. So, yes. That's a choice. And most of these people have been building, most of the banks have been building in this space and had teams since 2015, 16, 17. So if you think of the technology they've been using, it's generally ETH. So they understand ETH. ETH is the big one. You don't get fired for it. Your board's not going to tell you off. Why did you use some random thing? But we've now got the flexibility of the layer 2s, which makes it cheaper and easier, depending what level of security they need. So look, I think it's a very, very big deal for the financial markets. Much bigger than it is for retail. Well, I think it goes to new all-time highs.
Wow, okay, that's big.
Yeah, it's a big move. That's what I think happened. That's what I think is up for grabs here. I've been following this chart for a long time. It has been, we now come into the season where this tends to outperform. It's usually when the ISM is picking up, the altcoin season starts, the liquidity season starts. The banana zone tends to be the period when ETH outperforms. So we're in that zone. It really picks up next year, but starts this year. If you go back to 2020, ETH started basing and then started outperforming from about the summer onwards and really started picking up towards the end of 2020. And then by 2021, it went ETH-tastic. It went into full banana zone. I think we'll see something similar. I also think ETH will underperform Sol. People get confused when you show them.
I want to go there.
What? You don't like Sol anymore? It's like, no, I think Sol outperforms this. But I think ETH outperforms Bitcoin, and I think it's healthy for the space because it shows a deepening and broadening of the overall space, which is what we want. Yeah, I think there's a bit of chop still. But then I think later in the year, the Sol ETH chart breaks higher. and I think it goes significantly higher again. So I do think Sol will, double or triple the performance that ETH does, and that's driven by the usage and then Firedancer.
So there's Raoul Pal's latest insights into the banana zone, which provide a fascinating look at the periods of explosive growth in the crypto bull run, especially during US election years. As we begin the 2024 banana zone, Raoul's analysis suggests we could see significant upward movements in the crypto space between August and November of this year. Raoul expects from here on in that we'll see Ethereum outperform Bitcoin and then Solana outperform Ethereum. Let me know your thoughts if he's correct on that in the comments. Now guys, if you're watching this video, you're clearly interested in crypto. If you want to stay up to date with the latest in the crypto and Bitcoin world, don't forget to subscribe to our daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. It covers expert predictions, breaking news, and top on-chain analysis, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description to join over 60,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.